First I heard of it. Well, I heard there was a lift. Bruce told me about a little lift that he said they got in right away. Right. So your one got kicked out, but they got right back. We had to change BSNA. Like, we didn't think it was good. I don't think it went out. Are you going to put through the slides there?
But it sounds good. Yeah, I don't know. And you know, I have
Call the County Board of Commissioner meeting together. Guys, for an invocation, let us pray. Lord, as we deliberate, please help us to focus on important issues and not get caught up in minutia. We need to move forward with the welfare of all of our citizens and not keep in mind their needs. There will be some major decisions this coming year, and I pray for your guidance, O Lord, to have us work as a team to accomplish all the tasks that we need to do. And as always, protect those who watch over us both here and abroad. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Judy.
Commissioner Cross.
Here.
Commissioner Dzerzhinsky.
Here.
Commissioner Engel.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes. Here. Chairman Mahoney.
Here.
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Sable.
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Here.
Vice Chairman Wilkins.
No.
Okay. That is 8
We're so
present.
excused.
8 present.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. I would like to add one thing under my report, a C, and that is appointment to the Citizens Advisory Committee people for the jail. I'm not sure what the precise name is. Citizens Advisory Group.
It's the JJTCC-CRC.
Oh,
Sure.
that sounds like the Citizens Review Group to me.
Polish.
With that, anybody else? Need a motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Cross, seconded by Commissioner Nash to approve the agenda as presented and amended. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, the approval of the minutes of January 29, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Commissioner Nash.
I saw some edits and corrections. Was that were put in our box? Did everyone get that?
I don't recall.
I got some edits or corrections that were put in my box. I'm just trying to see if that was automatic. Got it in my box. I want to put it in my box with some highlights and edits of some minutes that I had in
I'm
there.
not familiar.
You have to look at them.
I just figured those edits were, it was minuscule, but I just wanted to make sure those were put in there.
Okay. Would you be, can you give us a
Yes.
copy of that?
Okay, we can wait a minute for Mr. Nash.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I wasn't aware of what he was talking about, and when we ever make any corrections or changes before you've approved them, we always forwarded them to you by email, so I apologize for the inconvenience at this time.
Chair, I heard Vice Chair Wilkins that the Vice Chair's.
Oh, that's right, she's at the training, the MAC training, so she is excused.
Thank you.
That's right.
No, but I do have a question while we're doing this. You know, we're getting more and more that this is a valuable tool. And some of the documents are getting longer and longer. If we could email back, it's hard for me to print it at home, especially when you don't have a printer. Just a request, email request, and we can do that.
Absolutely.
Susan did a lot of work on one, Charles did a lot. These are, anybody else having that?
If I could just say that I find it easier to use paper. I print them myself unless they're over 20 pages, and then I kind of object to that, but I'll just look at them electronically. But I know last week one agenda was, I think the one agenda was 80 or 90 pages.
Yeah. That's.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I've shown those to the clerk. Those are actually, those are just, they're not really any major changes. They're just grammar changes. So that's all they are. S's, taking A's, adding this,
I
adding
was
that.
not here, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize. I was absent at the meeting.
Okay,
Instead of resolution, it says resolutions.
So we will make
Things of
those
that
corrections and bring them back to you if you like.
okay, why don't we tentatively approve it just based outside of editing for grammar and spelling?
Correct.
Do you have a motion to do that?
Don't move.
Support.
By Commissioner Cross, supported by Commissioner Hughes, to approve the minutes of January 29th based on some corrections in terms of grammar and spelling and that kind of thing. Okay. We're now at the portion of the meeting for public comment on an agenda item. Anyone in the public wishing to speak to the board concerning an agenda item? Now we can move on. We need a motion to open a public hearing to accept public citizen comments on the Muskegon County Recreation Plan
So
update.
moved.
By Commissioner Nash. Seconded by Commissioner Sabo to accept or open a public hearing to accept citizen comments on the Muskegon County Recreation Plan update of 2013. Anyone in the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, Commissioner.
I just wonder if there are any email comments or letters.
The county clerk did not receive anything.
No citizen comment. Looking for a motion to close.
the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Cross, seconded by Commissioner Nash to close the public hearing on comments concerning the Muskegon County Recreation Plan update. Communications, again, apparently no one wants to talk to us. Committee reports, courts and public safety. Commissioner
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. The Courts of Public Safety met on February 5th, 2013. It was recommended, and I move CPS 13/02-01 through 05.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Cross, seconded by Commissioner Nash to approve the Courts and Public Safety Committee report of February 5, 2013. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Jarosinski.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Commissioner Sabo.
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Cross.
Yes.
Chairman Mahoney.
Yes.
8 yes.
Okay, motion carries.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. Human Resources, soon to be Human Services.
Mr. Chair, the Human Resource Committee met on February 5th, 2013. It was recommended that I move HR 1302-6 through HR 1302-13 with HR 1305 being tabled.
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Nance, seconded by Commissioner
Seconded. Yes.
Hughes. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Sable,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Derasinski,
Yes.
Chairman Mahoney.
Yes.
8 yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Cross. Former mine.
Got it depth in here.
Okay, and I think the last one is the Ways and Means Committee. Commissioner Derasinski.
Mr. Chair, the Ways and Means Committee met on February 7, 2013. It was recommended, and I moved WM 13/02, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Second.
By Commissioner Derasinski, seconded by Commissioner Cross, to accept the Ways and Means Committee report of February 7th. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Sable,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Derasinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Chairman Mahoney.
Yes.
8 yes.
Motion carries.
And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Be outdone by Charles.
Okay. Chairman report, the Board Rules Committee's appointments for the new Rules Committee. I'm going to suggest and recommend that Rilstein Wilkins, Commissioner Skolnick, Commissioner Sabo, and myself head up that commission, or committee.
I'll make a motion to concur with your recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Recommended or moved by Commissioner Derasinski, seconded by Commissioner Cross to approve those appointments. Any discussion? See none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. And just for your information, as soon as we get a meeting time set, if you have, and Commissioner Hughes has already emailed some suggestions. If you have other suggestions, please let any of the commissioners or myself know, and we will take them under consideration before we bring back a report for rules. Okay. Workforce Development Committee appointments. There are a couple of economic development slots. I always say Kathy. Brubaker Clark from the city and Dan Reisman Seidman for the post-secondary slot.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported for the Workforce Development Board appointments and those particular slots. Any discussion?
Are those just reappointments?
I don't think so.
Those are new? Okay. Do you know who they're replacing?
That would, I'm not sure.
We can get that information for you.
Thank you.
We'll get that. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. And finally, the Citizen Advisory Committee group for the jail. What I'm suggesting and what we had done originally was to have one commissioner appoint one person from their district. And what I am suggesting now is all of those folks who have applied be appointed without regard to district or whatever, simply so we have citizens who are interested, no matter where they're from,
to give input to the jail, in which case my appointment would be for all of those who have applied.
I'll make the motion that you appoint the people that have already applied to the position on the Citizens Review Committee.
Maybe that there will be a few more coming through, in which I'll bring back to the board for sure. Commissioner Bob, you look confused.
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. Chair, do you know how many appointments that would be currently?
I think we're looking at, and I don't have the current list, we're probably looking at 15, 16.
Well, my suggestion was we might need to change our meeting place, because if you're gonna have a board, you don't wanna have a short of seats for all those that are appointed, so.
We'll count the
change
chairs.
that room.
I'll count the chairs.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question for you. Can you refresh my memory as to what the reasoning was for the Citizens Review Committee?
To provide citizen input, direct citizen input into the discussions that were going on at the JJTCC meeting. So that, you know, if issues came up that were not addressed at this board level, then they were able to meet and discuss and come up with ideas that would feed into the regular committee.
And then they report to the Jail Juvenile Transition Center Committee? Is that how that works? The Citizens Review Committee will
They don't necessarily report to anybody, but they do give us input, you know,
Okay.
through their report, which would come back to the
okay. I guess that would be the better way to-
JJTC.
Yeah, that's probably better. I don't necessarily mean report to them, but how do we find out what their issues are?
They have a chair, and she should be communicating with the chair, which would be the sheriff
Okay.
of the Citizens Committee concerns.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Just make sure.
Did we vote on it yet? I guess not. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Do we have a committee liaison reports?
Mr. Chair, I sit on with Mr. Skolnick and Mrs. Rosestein in the Airport Advisory Board. And, you know, since that was formed, when we were having a lot of difficulties out there, difficulties in how much the general fund was supplementing that. And the board took off, made a lot of recommendations, implemented, and I think most people are aware of that, and cut that deficit budget substantially. I think probably by about 40,000 plus. And now we're looking, Bob, I think you were at that, yeah, I know you were. You know, we have no authority, we have no budget. We're looking for goals. What's our goal? What's our purpose? What's our function? We did come up and issued a list. The airport is doing much better than it was 3 years ago for a variety of reasons. And it's appointed by this, and where should we be going? What, you know?
Let me go back and review when I appointed those folks initially as to what we gave them as a charge from here, to refresh my memory. And I know what we were looking at first was, you know, looking at the financial stuff, but in addition, a way of marketing and moving forward.
I think we've pretty much accomplished many of those things, and I hate to just go to meetings for meeting's sake. Not that I don't think it's an important part of the county, nor trying to shrug any responsibility, but I like goals to work for.
What I would suggest, and I'll go back and look and see what the initial charge was, and then if any of the other commissioners have some suggestions as to where that advisory board could go. Not necessarily.
What they could do. Okay, did I sum that up, Mr. Skolnick? Or?
You did. I need to correct one thing, though. The deficit was reduced. It wasn't just the committee, but I mean with staff's work on that, by about $400,000.
They have made, staff has made considerable inroads in terms of airport, getting it running, getting planes there, and that kind of thing, so. But I will revisit that.
Thank you.
And as I said, if any of the commissioners have ideas. Any other liaison? Now we can move on to Madam Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and County Board of Commissioners. I present to you for your consideration approval to approve the request of Village of Ravenna for exemption from County Board Policy 2009-367, County Board Tax Sharing Policy.
So
Support.
moved by Commissioner Engel, seconded by Commissioner Hughes, to approve the request of the Village of Ravenna for the exemption from our county board policy about county board tax sharing project, or DEQ project.
Mr. Correa, could somebody just explain this?
The county received from the Village of Ravenna a they send out a notice to all taxing jurisdictions that they will be doing a project that will offset tax money going to the taxing jurisdictions. The Muskegon County Board of Commissioners has a policy that requires municipalities within Muskegon County to report that and ask for approval from the commissioners. And this is the process. The process is once the taxing jurisdiction comes in, the county clerk is notified as well as administration, and it's brought to the board for approval.
So this is, they're doing a TIFA project,
Yes, they are.
because we don't see very many of these.
No, we do not. We've only seen, we've seen 2 from the city of Muskegon since 2009, and this is the 3rd one we've seen.
No, when I was on the city, in Norton Shores, I don't think we ever did this.
The,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry?
Fire department, that's part of it.
Right, but, no, I know we did TIFA projects, but I don't, this exempts the
policy.
county from.
right. The policy was implemented in 2009, this policy for the county.
Commissioner Snyder and I at that time went to a MAC conference, and we were concerned that expansion of TIF projects without control could be substantial. Midland had some issues with it for the city of Midland. So this just gives us an opportunity to say yea or nay.
So when a municipality does a TIFA project, normally the money that they capture, they capture the county's money too. Okay, so this is asking them to do that, asking them to let us do that.
To let them have our portion.
Care of that.
In looking at what they have here, if I might, at the last line, this is the project, that's private development, approximately $1 million, resulting in an estimated $400,000 in new taxable value and 10 new jobs for the county.
This is a requirement to get funding to do the necessary environmental projects prior to making this happen. So it's not an outlay of necessarily money on our part, but it allows it to go forward under the state's plan.
We're looking at, as according to the thing here, $15,956 through 2020. Commissioner Nash.
Do we have a description of what this project is?
It's attached.
Is this supposed
The
to be-
Dollar General redevelopment project.
It's a project summary right afterwards.
Go to the next
And
page.
the land that it's going to sit on has some contaminants in
Right.
it.
So a brownfield authority was established so that that could be taken care of with the brownfield funds, and this is a part of the brownfield funds having to be paid back.
I wonder if I can take this in another direction. I don't have a problem with this one, but with Act 198 tax abatements that municipalities give, that has implications on the general fund dollars of the county. And if I'm right, there's a limitation by the other units of government within Muskegon County, how much they can authorize in tax abatements, because really, they are abating some of our dollars. And if I recall, 15% of your taxable value, or SCV, is the limit. And that's substantial, is it not?
I went to the meeting when they had the public meeting on this out in Urbana, and I explained to them that if it's a project that's going to require the county to spend a lot of money, for instance, if you needed a mile of sewer, or if you needed, that this board would have to make the decision whether they thought the project was worth having that happen. And it's not that we're trying to stop development, but it does impact our general fund.
And that was the purpose that Commissioner Snyder and I had initially talked about the policy, having us approve it, rather than just carte blanche for everything. Commissioner Nash?
Right, and I guess I want to make a comment towards that, not just in this project in particular, but I worry about the county and municipalities, local municipalities, as we approve these. I'm all for business and development, but we do not set in stone any kind of accountability for these type of approvals. So we approve these tax abatements with these projections of new jobs and new monies in development, and then sometimes they turn into something totally different, and we don't have any accountability, or we don't follow through with the accountability we stand. And I speak of that because I'm still have a bad taste in my mouth about our battery plant, and I'm really disappointed that we have not followed through on any of those accountability standards, and I'd love to see us at least take a look at it or do some things of that sort. But with this, I just have a problem approving it without having any type of accountability towards it. I've seen that done at the county level, I've seen it done at the city levels, and I think what we do is sometimes we do our citizens an injustice for not following through and reviewing some of these things and making sure that we're holding even our private sector accountable too.
We can't change state policy. I mean, we can say, okay, you can do state policy, but we can't change what the state says you need to do. That's not our level of government. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's in the past, the track record of the number of jobs produced that MEDC has thought would happen is much less. But that has to be, I mean, our place in the hierarchy, if you will, is, do we want it to be in the hierarchy or don't we? And once it is, then it's done how the state says to do it.
Again, that's not my disagreement is more so with the private sector not following through. That's where I have the problem at. And then we need to have accountability set into those kind of policies to make sure that there is some accountability, and then we also have to follow through with that accountability that we set. But in some ways, we just approve these abatements, and as these abatements go forward and the project does not fulfill what it proposed or what it promised, we don't follow through with any accountability. I think that's not good for the citizens of the community.
It's not our job, though.
One thing, Commissioner Nash, in this project,
one of the reasons that this is being brought forward as a brownfield authority project is because there's contaminants in the soil and the water quality levels are below the acceptable. With the DEQ and the brownfield, they'll resolve that issue, and even if nothing went forward on this project, the land would be usable again and be a viable piece of taxable property. So I do see this as a real good thing for the community.
Mr. Chair, you know, as far as accountability, Charles, there is to some extent, because I think Muskegon Township recently had, didn't they do a clawback on somebody who moved out?
Yes.
And the
yes.
same thing happened in Norton Shores, where they were given a tax abatement, and then they ended up closing the place, and I think in the case in Norton Shores moved to Holland. And the city went after them for, I don't know how that was resolved, but it was $30,000 or $40,000, and that was a big one too.
Yeah, the township did get they have to pay that back, yeah.
So there is a provision.
I agree, some municipalities are following through, but I think that, you know, some municipalities aren't. And I'm not just speaking just the county, but I do think we have a major one that took place a couple years back that we still haven't seen the proposed projections of those jobs, and you know, we're taxpayers in the county is missing a lot of tax money. A lot of tax money.
Any other discussion? I think Commissioner Skolnick, you're correct. Usually the clawbacks and that kind of thing occur at the municipal level because they are the ones that are affected more directly than the county cash.
If they were the township.
They're trying to correct.
That is true, Mr. Chairman. We could be as, I would assume, as aggressive as this board would like in encouraging those kinds of things. In fact, they stand up. They are essentially at the board level. I mean, at the
municipal level, because they are the ones that are actually granting the abatements. Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Being none, I suppose we get a roll call.
Commissioner Nash.
Abstain.
Commissioner Sable.
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Cross.
Yes.
Commissioner Derazinski.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Mahoney.
I get demoted.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Chairman Mahoney. I was looking at
It's how it is.
I was looking at Commissioner Wilkins, knowing she was excused. I'm sorry. Chairman Mahoney.
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstention.
You know we all look alike.
Madam Administrator.
That concludes my report,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Much fun. Old business. Anyone have old business? Any new business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
this
you're still
probably-
back to old business.
Commissioner Nash just kind of said something that I found interesting about the battery plant that has not materialized. And I understand, and I've been following batteries, and I know I didn't. I mean, there's no market for the thing, so, you know, I don't blame them for not building it here. But I'm just curious, how much money was, I wonder how much public money was spent on that thing? Trying to get it here. I mean, the market didn't happen, so did the county have significant money?
No.
I think?
No, I think the township, Muskegon Township had some investment in that.
Probably
in time and
MEDC, the
energies,
Michigan folks had some money, I think.
But I think a lot of it was tied to the jobs creation, and so if no jobs were created, there was no money
Right.
going. I mean, the money was sitting out there waiting. They couldn't get the money until they created the jobs.
And there wasn't any sewer pipe or water pipe run out there or anything
No.
like that?
The land has been cleared in that zone.
Any other old business? Any other old business? No? Any new business? None. We're now for public comment on a new topic. Anyone wishing to comment on a new topic? Come to the podium and tell us who you are.
My name is Jim Riley, and I really like to applaud Commissioner Nash. I think accountability is critically important, and frankly, I shiver when I hear the comments, it's not our job. Frankly, it disgusts me. It's nothing when you folks make decisions to spend taxpayer money to ask that those people who get that money report as to how well their promises turned out. Every company must make, by law, quarterly reports that have to do with number of employees, have to do with any number of things. It's nothing for those companies to report on a quarterly basis back when you are spending tax dollars. And too often we've had, as an example, Mr. Nash, I'm not sure if you were here, but we've had promises given to housing, new housing, well into $100,000 per rehab. We've had promises of job training with no response in terms of how did the job training turn out, with significant amounts of federal, state, and I would assume county money. It seems to me that accountability ought to be very important. We got to start thinking out of the box. If you're going to spend money, in particular if you're going to give it to private companies, it's nothing to require that they respond, and I would suggest that they respond at least quarterly, at least a track, so that they know someone's looking over their shoulder. We all know that when you give money to someone and you have absolutely no requirement that they report back in any way, it changes the way that they view that money. And I certainly would hope that you would think of taxpayers' money in the way that Charles Nash seems to, as sacred. You have a responsibility to do it. And whether it is your stated and statutory requirement to do it, maybe we can think a little bit out of the box and let people know that, hey, there is a responsibility back to the taxpayers of this county.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay, never mind.
We do have a student in the audience. I think she's still here. You come to the podium, please, and tell us who you are and what school and instructor.
Hi, I'm Samantha Fox, and I attend Muskegon Community College. I am here because of my political science class. My professor is Kurt Troutman, and he requires outside political participation, so I figured a full board meeting would be pretty sufficient for that assignment.
Well, we hope we entertained you. Thank you.
Oak Ridge graduate.
Oak Ridge graduate. And we have former Commissioner Sky Plummer and trustee of Blue Lake Township, Don Steuben here. As elected officials. Anyone else? We have a candidate, Mr. Aviati. In which case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We are done.